I really gotta beat that Riven game. This beard is getting way too long. I can't control it anymore. I mean, I could almost put it in a bun. I could put a little string on it and have a little tuft. I mean, this is getting crazy. Oh, hi. Welcome. Bad acting, I know. Welcome to Legacy Studio. My name is Tim Lee. It's time to play episode number 3 of Obduction, a really, really fun game so far. Now, if you're wondering, Tim, why aren't you playing it in VR? We know you got the goggles. Admittedly, when I plug in my goggles to my computer, things just don't record very smoothly. It's not a process that's easy or fun to do, admittedly. And in talking with my historians, my early access members, a couple of them have said, you're going to be taking notes in this game. You're going to want to actually be able to see your notes. And we've seen how that's gone in Mist VR. Watch that if you want some laughs. Some very frustrating laughs. So, yeah, that's why we're doing this today here in PC, but it's been a ton of fun so far. Episode number 3 starts right here, right now. Welcome to the channel. Now, before we get started, once again, I want to let you guys know I deeply appreciate the support of all my early access members, and if you want to see early content before anybody else, way before anybody else, then consider becoming an early access member for just $2 a month. It really, really supports me, really supports the channel, and I have great conversation, and it makes you a historian if you have that kind of knowledge of this game, and we just have a ton of fun together, and you get to see a whole bunch of content that other people don't get to see because you're early access. Plus, you get to see all this and basically binge watch it as much as you want. All right, let's play a little bit of Obduction, episode number 3 today. Here we go. All right, here we go again in this weird, creepy old house. And I wanted to show you something pretty funny here. Jeff O, one of our awesome historians, if he has the knowledge of any of this. I just call you guys historians because I think it's a perfect fit for you. He said here, no spoilers. The next puzzle, how to use a cassette player. Ha ha. I hate to admit it, but it's been such a long time since I've used a cassette player that, oh, by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a cassette player. It's been so long since I've used a cassette player, I was trying to remember if you do this and you flip the cassette over, does it need to be rewound? And I don't think it does. But it's been a long time, and I remember trying to think about that. So let's see if there's any audio on here.
Across the sky, mesmerizing, but unnerving. Some of you were alone. I wasn't. My dear grandma, God bless her,
same story.
As if it was some forebearer of good fortune.
Same story.
Vera, you said you recall smiling. None of us understood. But, well, we followed. Whether it was in the deep woods like Cecil or right outside town like Jane and Jenny, we were drawn to see more. Grandma lifted me from the carriage on the porch and
yeah, same story.
Walked into the yard so we could watch it unobstructed. Even in daylight, Joseph, you said it was gloriously bright. But in the twilight, it was spellbinding. And we all felt some kind of trepidation, and yet attraction.
I feel like it's the same,
Approached it, and
but it feels slightly different too.
Us. So close,
Yeah, it's different.
so radiant, and the sound deep and vibrant, organic. You all remember. There was no turning away. It advanced, almost like purposefully spinning slowly until, well, it found us, each of us.
Like a pine cone.
We should tell these stories because it saved us, and there must be more.
It saved us. That's the part that confuses me.
It was in the middle of the afternoon.
I was watching the sunrise.
It was about 2:30 in the morning. December 26, 1948.
May 7th, 2009. September 3rd, 1995.
I was down by the river.
I was hiking in the desert, in the park with my grandson. Floated in the sky. The light, it climbs the clouds and shines the trees and
It disappeared. I looked around and, to see.
see if there's anyone around. See if anyone else has seen what I have seen.
There was no one around. They all saw it too.
Bob definitely saw it.
Well, it was just beautiful. There was something calming about it. Yeah, I don't mind telling you, I was kind of freaking out. I tried to follow it, tried to get a better look at it. Wanted to see it again. I came to a place where it had disappeared, overlooked, but I found nothing. And it streaked through the sky again.
It seemed like it was looking for something. Or looking for someone.
And then it found me. And it found me.
Found me.
It found me. Found me. Found me. Found me.
It found me.
That's not freaky at all. Let's turn it over and see if there's anything on the other side. Or fast forward. Nope. Apparently that's the end. Okay, let's flip it over. See, I know how to use a cassette. Oh, boy. Okay. See what the other side says. Why would it be stopped? I didn't think you had to rewind it, but apparently I'm rewinding it. Alright, well, we'll see if there's anything on there. Have a sip of my non-sponsored Diet Coke.
Well, I feel like I should say something. We haven't heard from Shavar. So, well, so we assume that Shavar, well, the attack is inevitable. We just don't know when. So, Shavar and her family, and others she trusts, I guess, well, they'll arrive when they can, without giving, like covertly. So the plan will happen, in spite of our
Speak English.
We're locking down as much as possible here.
COVID-19, that's what they're dealing with.
Moving everybody out. CW will stay here. And I'll go to Murray at the last possible moment. Most are gone. There's just a few left here now. The mayor got out early. I don't even know why I'm recording this. It's like somehow we'll live on or something. I guess this has meaning if someone listens, but who? A new one? A new arriver. Oh, God, the kiosk out front. I need to update that message.
So why is the rewind and flip button so marked up in comparison to the play button? What an ugly looking bear. It's not a bear, it's a koala. Isn't it a koala? Can we rip it open or something? I'm not entirely sure of the benefit of the koala. The nose tells me it's a koala. Yep, can't really do anything with it. Okay. Alright, well, there you go. We have drawings that I thankfully can't click on. Anything about the books here? Okay. So the search continues now. Instead of having to randomly click on everything, I like that when you do find something that you're supposed to click on, the icon in the center there turns on. Looks like I found something interesting here. Let me snap a picture of this. So, 1. Seed pair. 2. Find planets with similar atmospheres. 3. Swap. 4. Tree from seed. 5. There is no 5. Okay. So the theory that we're seeing here, okay, there's different colors here. If you look at Earth and Sora, oh, they got lines everywhere that I'm supposed to be understanding. This is going to be confusing. Heart connected path open when mature. So the seed of the tree, I guess. Heart superposition. 4 species meet. What happens at fruition? Swap, where, home, when, maybe dead. More seed pairs scattered throughout the universe. Why scattering? And this is a really tough call on what that actually means. Yeah, I'm confused. Okay. But one thing I am seeing here is it would seem like the heart, the tree, sends to... Because right here, we see that little yellow right there. And then we see red over here, and we can see that yellow, red, but we don't know where green and blue are. So that's something I'm looking for to see if there's any answers on that. Okay. Let's see what this says. My brother, small and nice, sings constantly at as noisy as a rock concert. If only he would be quiet. That's awkward. Okay, so let's see. Papers all over the floor over here with a ripped up carpet. I can't rip up the carpet more? No? Okay. I don't know what the random thing is on the floor. Alright, let's see what this book is. Here we go for some more lore, my friends. Welcome to Hunrath. Please give us a bit of information about you so we can get to know you a little better. Name. Date you came from. Please use 4-digit year. Because you really don't know. Are you in the 90s of 2090? 90s of 2090 or in the 1990s? I don't know. Country and city. Where do you come from? Circumstance under which you were taken. Please note any dangers you noticed. Emptied, filled. 12,000 AH, 13,000 AH, 15,000 AH. Emptied and filed. Samuel Karen. January 2017. Manaka, Madagascar. Oh, Madagascar. I had just arrived and was driving my supply truck along the coast south of I recall being washed away, and the seed appeared. 15,257. Emptied and filed. What does AH stand for? Male, 61 years old. Visual Regenbogen. 1942. Wow, from 2017, 1942. March, Lübeck, Germany. The last thing I recall is a large rumbling while I was hiding in the cellar of a vacant building. I ran toward a bright light in a star well. 15,841. AH, male, 16. So what does AH stand for? Emptied and filled. Mariah Gallego. 9/1988. Cozumel, Mexico. On my boat and bad storm. 16,023 AH. Female of 46. I can't read that one. Great handwriting, but I can't read the first name. March of 2042. Portland, United States of America. Skiing. Mount Hood. 16,717 AH. Male, 37. So what on earth are these AHs? Emptied and filed. Emptied and filed. And everyone apparently knows what that means. Unlike me. Okay. Now, we did figure out this whole idea, which we still haven't figured out what it is yet, but we know that this is linked up to this guy, which when you switch screens also is this guy. So we'll have to go do some visitation, if you will, here in a little bit. Now, if these are the exact same thing, which I think they are, the best way to check would be to hop in my pictures, which we might do in a second here. Let's keep reading, though. I shall document the curious events that have conspired with myself, my family, friends, and co-workers. Hartwell was a peaceful mining town, founded by my grandfather, and nestled within the red rock of the desert in the Arizona territory. Its 163 inhabitants heard a mighty explosion in the night of June 27th, 1903. I sent several workers through the town to verify that the explosion had not caused any injuries or damage to mining equipment. They returned and reported that it must have been a loud clap of thunder caused by dry lightning, for they found no damage. It was not until the light of the next morning that we were amazed to realize something profound had indeed occurred. At some point during that night, our entire mining facility and a large circle of the land around it seemed to have been scooped up and then carried off to a completely different place, all without anyone knowing it. Can I turn it around? Doesn't seem so. Okay. So these are historical documents. The entire landscape outside of our circle of desert could only be described as alien large floating rocks and could be seen in the distance. No one had ever seen anything like it anywhere on Earth. We fully explored our new surroundings, hoping to find a way home. No way home was ever found. In fact, we soon discovered that we take for granted now, not only could we not get back home, we also could not access the landscape outside the desert. Curiously, we discovered that a flow of water had provided from a high point of rock. We discovered, excuse me. Let me make sure I read that again. Zoe walked in here just now and farted. So I am breathing farts, and it smells terrible. It doesn't smell like she farted. It smells like she pooped in here. Okay. And no way home was ever found. In fact, we soon discovered that what we take for granted now, not only could we not get back home, we also could not access the landscape outside the desert. Curiously, we discovered that a flow of water was provided from a high point of rock, and we discovered a small tree growing on the very center of the channel, the circle. Our central tree that is so important to our lives here was just a mere sapling back then. Oh, okay. All right, nothing on the back side of that one either. I'm just double checking just to make sure. Nope, it's not turning around. Okay, so let's see what we got here on this notepad. Species description, Mofang. Through ambassador seeds, the Mofang were the first non-human species humans were introduced to, and Liang, or is it Lana? That might be Lana, was the first to call the alien a Mofang, impressed with their advanced ability to imitate our sounds, movements, and mannerisms. Although they have a name for themselves, their language is mostly unpronounceable by humans. As a result, and because of their mimicry abilities, communication with the Mofang is primarily accomplished by their learning human languages rather than humans learning to speak Mofang. They have been able to learn almost every human language represented in Hunrath, enough to provide functional, if rudimentary, communication. The Mofang basic external morphology is remarkably humanoid. Bilateral symmetrical pteropods, bipedal head with anterior facial features, or mouth, eyes, nostrils. Other external features include minimal body hair and raised dorsal protrusions. Constitution, if somewhat frail due to apparently in their thin and lightweight internal structure, but internal investigation has not been possible. They have ample cranial space to account for a substantial brain, and their intelligence is impressive as evidenced by their advanced technology. Hello. That looks like something out of a bad dream, for sure. Alright. After a certain level of maturity and health of the tree, a passage opened at its base. This passage allowed contact with 2 additional species. The first contact was with the Arai, or that might be Avi. I can't tell if that's an R or a V. Probably an R. The first contact revealed, actually, yes, there's an R on first, and it's the same letter, so that's an R. The first contact revealed the Ari to be large beetle-like insects. They were unable to communicate directly with them. We were unable to directly communicate with them in any way, but they appeared to have some rudimentary level of intelligence. It was Lorink Toth who first made the journey through the heart to Keptar and named both the New World and the inhabitants. The Ari have 3 distinct variants that have come to be referred to as barnacle beetle and polyarch. Although their morphology is dramatically different from human, their internal systems, like all of our neighbors, are supported by similar atmospheric composition and basic nutrients. In their barnacle stage, the Ari are completely immobile. The Ari stay in this egg-like development state seemingly indefinitely. In order to hatch, they must be in proximity of a polyarch and fertilized by the beetles after a certain stage of maturity. Now, the beetles are the eyes and ears, hands and feet, with only a minimal nervous system of their own. They are essentially the sensory extensions of the mobile polyarchs. They are able to execute simple commands, but apparently have very little in the way of individual sentience. That's a fun-looking little critter. The Ari polyarchs are the intelligence and consciousness of the species, although it was obvious that there was intelligence behind the species. It wasn't until Caroline Farley began spending large amounts of time in close proximity that deeper communication began. With a room nearby, Farley was the first to communicate non-verbally and learn much about the species, including some of the historical information. The Ari species survived in their world, while several other sentient species came and went, among them an ancient species who formed a deeper relationship with the Ari, carving temples and dwellings for them in the rocks, and later a more recent species that took over much of their homeworld. Pizza's here. All right, after eating a little bit of pizza with my wife, I'm back. Okay, I'm going to give you a weird pro tip, pro foodie tip. If you're like me and, what is that, Hidden Valley Ranch, and you don't like the Hidden Valley Ranch, but you like ranch from different stores, I mean, like different restaurants, my wife and I have found out that's actually Cisco Ranch, and it's quite good. And we haven't found anything like it anywhere. This, though, is amazing. The Wild Coyote Ranch. If you can get your hands on this, it's not quite Cisco Ranch, but it is real close, and it makes anything taste amazing, okay? There's just a couple pieces of wisdom and advice for you. Let's get back into the game here. With a room nearby, Farley was able to first communicate non-verbally and learn much about the species, including some historical information. The Ari species survived in their world, while several other sentient species came and went, among them an ancient species who formed a deeper relationship with the Ari, carving temples and dwellings for them in the rocks, and later a more recent species that took over much of their homeworld. This latter species was especially adept in mechanical construction, using it mostly to capture and process large flying creatures, using the beetles as bait. Oh boy, that's that's very attractive. That's a very attractive little creature. That's nice. Yeah. Villain. The final species to be discovered were the Villain. The Villain had been communicating with the Ari for many years through ambassador seeds, but became part of the larger community very shortly after the Ari. With a large and imposing frame, the form of the communication based on the complex, multi-voiced, low-frequency rumble. The initial introductions were intimidating. After several attempts, Amelie Vidal was able to begin some rudimentary communication and began visiting the Villain in Marais, which she named on a regular basis. She discovered a complex and amazing society that was able to use their technology in unexpected ways. They had the ability to quickly transform their world using extruded structures based on some form of complex miniature substrate material. Unlike other worlds, the Villain sphere is scooped out of the Villain resettlement group that was preparing to set off into space to find a new homeworld. This was their way of life, to put themselves into stasis and scatter themselves through the stars. As mentioned previously, their appearance is imposing, standing about 9 feet tall with a distinct reptilian resemblance. They have 6 limbs, 2 muscular legs and arms, and a smaller set of arms. They control every aspect of their technology with their vocalizations, but over the years, they've created control panels based on their number system that allow number systems and Riven. Let's see. Created control panels based on their number system that allow other species to easier access elements of their technology. Whoa! He a big boy. Okay. Wow, that looks interesting. Okay. So let's see what the next one is here. Communication, talking with our neighbors. We take communication for granted, even though the varied languages we find here on Hunrath, but when we suddenly find ourselves among other intelligent species and don't share our culture, history, DNA, or vocal cords, it requires a huge amount of effort for the beginning of rudimentary chatting. This quick overview will set the stage for what to expect when communicating with our neighbors. All right, here we go. The Mofang were the first non-humans we met with at least some level of similar physical vocal generating abilities. They picked up human words quickly. The early mimicry resulted in what the species became to be called. Mofang? How is that? Okay. Even though they were able to mimic single words and simple phrases, it became evident over the years that huge grammatical differences were not easily overcome. Some have proposed that the difficulty may have arisen because the Mofang insisted on attempting to learn every human language, and as a result were never able to lock into any consistent grammatical structure. Nevertheless, in spite of the rudimentary sentence construction, it has been very easy to communicate, and it has been unnecessary for us to learn their language beyond a few simple phrases and proper names. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Mofang, please contact Tam. The Villain. I presented a particular communication challenge. From what we can gather, they produce sounds using 2 large reed-like structures inside opposite sides of their heads. The vibrations generated are channeled to resonance chambers in their skulls, where they are combined into a complex low-frequency dual tone. The low-frequency bitonal sounds are not only hard for humans to hear and resolve, but impossible for us to mimic. And the Villain's hearing is also oriented towards low frequency, so they are unable to hear most of the sounds associated with human speech. Wow, that stinks. Therefore, communication with a Villain has relied on technology. They have adapted consoles which the Villain fluently control with vocalization for use by other species. Over the years, some individuals of other species, including a few humans, have learned to communicate very efficiently using the method. Humans have been able to pick out some higher frequency characteristics of certain key Villain words over the years, and although we cannot speak to them in a way that the Villains can understand, we are occasionally able to hear and recognize these words when spoken distinctly by the Villain. If you'd like to learn more about the communication with a Villain, please contact Vito. Arai. None of the stages of the Arai morphology have any vocalization apparatus because of the obvious synchronization of the barnacle flash and the ability of the pawns to provide for address the needs of the polyarchs. It was assumed that the species could communicate effectively. It was not until Farley began to spend large amounts of time with the polyarch antechamber that the first clues to this communication became evident. After months of research, Farley began to have limited success with receiving some kind of simple messages that were coming from the polyarchs. It's apparent now that the polyarchs had been attempting to communicate the entire time, but they themselves had been experimenting with various channels until they finally got a response from Farley. After this breakthrough, others were able to tune in to the polyarchs and learn to listen. Both the polyarchs and the pawns have a simple organ that can sense human vocal frequency, enabling them to sense simple responses from humans. But over the years, Farley was able to learn to speak the polyarchs to the polyarchs via a related form of extrasensory transmission. If you'd like to learn more about communication with Arai, please contact Farley. Okay. A lot of lore going on here, and it looks like we still have another book to go through yet. We'll probably wrap this episode up on all this. Okay, now this is where things are going to get interesting. All right, seed information. Here we go. And maybe this might help with the little AH stuff that we were wondering about. Whoa, that... Okay. All right, that... Did you see that? Wow. It literally... Okay. Alright, there's, like, weird things happening here. Let me, we have a glitch, apparently. Wow, okay. I don't like how that's working. Okay, ambassador seeds were first documented about 150 Earth years ago. They occur once about every 400 days if the trees remain healthy. Natural seed swaps occur between pairs of seeds that we now know dropped simultaneously from healthy trees in a paired sphere. When each seed was touched by a species in a sphere, the swap occurred, sending an ambassador from each sphere to the paired sphere. Confusing. Location of the swap is defined by the locations of the pairs of seeds. After the first swap, the seeds recharged quickly, allowing for a quick return. First meetings were intense, but naturally short. It was quite a surprise for both the Mofang and us. Over time, the seeds required more time to recharge, producing longer visits between species. Collector seeds. Everyone who arrives is familiar with a collector seed. The bright light that we were all drawn to right before the event that brought us here is a collector seed. What new arrivers may not be aware of is that these seeds like all seeds, come in pairs. When the tree drops a collector seed on the ground, it signals that its twin has begun its quest for a new being. Excuse me, that's a little burp there. That search may take hours or it may take years. When an appropriate situation, a natural threat of death, is found, the seed activates and swaps a smaller but varying sized sphere from Earth, or whatever appropriate home world here to Hunrath. As Hunrath became more populated, we would watch for a newly dropped collector seed, collect it, and place it in the entry canyon area. This allowed us to provide a more predictable entry experience for new arrivers and provide a single area to collect any resources that may have come along with the new arriver. Unlike ambassador seeds and mother seeds, collector seeds do not seem to survive. The inner core is spent, leaving only the lifeless outer husk. Everyone who arrives, no, this is such a glitch. Alright, so I'm gonna try and fake it. Okay. Alright, let me put the book down. Alright, that's a bad glitch. Alright. Here we go. Mother seeds. Alright, mother seeds. I think I got this to not glitch out. Postulated but unverified. First suggested by Alma Hamsa in 2232 BH. 2232 BH. Snap a picture of that. The notation of mother seeds extrapolates the behavior of the lesser seed to a super seed. She posted that the process that actually created the paired spheres was similar to all other swaps, but in a much grander scale. The idea that two seeds from a mother tree were scattered in the galactic winds to find appropriately similar environments When matches were found, some process was triggered that swapped large portions of landscape between vastly different worlds. Alma further noted that the trees' locations in the center of the spheres suggested that the trees grew from these mother seeds. Because of the similarities, it's been conjectured that reswapping the entire environmental spheres might be possible with a larger scale version of the Ambassador Seed machine. And this glitchy book appears to be it. Alright, well, you know what? I really hate to admit it, but I'm not a fan of these lore episodes where we end up reading 6 million books and things, but they do play an important role in the end. So I apologize for this very long amount of lore that I was not expecting to walk into, and certainly we have a long way to go. But that's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thank you so much for checking this video out. I do hope that, to an extent, you enjoyed it. I hope my reading was a little better than it's been in Riven. At least some of this is a little bit more legible. And that's going to do it for this episode for now, as we got through that lore. And when we come back next week, we'll dig in a bit deeper and see where this takes us in Abducted. All right, so God bless you. We love you. Keep it crispy. 1 Tim 4:12. Go and buy some merch today. I'm wearing my my millennial octopus with a top bun, or whatever you call that, top knot. And go and get that in our merch store. Links down below. All right, we'll see you next time right here. Keep it crispy, my friends. Have a good one.